Good day. Today we're going to present part 2 of the project management. The group is confirmed by Sebastián Boza, Jesus Pinilla, Brian Rincón, Fabián Rodríguez, and Santiago Rodríguez.
The following is the schedule. The schedule is a project template which shows the calendar duration and the tracking travel with the hash of each for a total 1010 days begin the March 24 and end August 20. The first one on the planning analytic with the duration 11 days begin March 20 and April 6. The second variety study with a duration of 5 days begin April 7 and April 13. The three place assisting analytic with a duration of the 5 days begin April 14 and then April 10. The four is the same with a duration of the day start April 25 on and on my 4. The first is the development with a duration 14 days, beginning on the May 5 and the end June 29. The sixth is integration with duration 10 days, begin June 30 and then July 3rd. The seventh is testing with a duration of the 10 days, begin July 14 and in July the 27th. The eighth is an implement with a duration of 5 days, begin July 39 and in August 3rd. The ninth is turbine and with duration is the 5 days, begin August 4th and in August 10. And the 10 is a maintenance with a duration of 10 days, August 11 then August 24. Following cost control. The bucket has 11 activities which are collection of requirement with the cost of 50,000 and reserve is at 30,000 and the cost total be 8,000 pesos. A study of the requirement with the cost 1,000 are reserve of the 30,000 and the total cost will be 8,000 pesos. Stability, which a part of the software convert age requirement, which a cost 50,000 and reserve of the 25,000 and the total cost will be 75,000 pesos. Logical design with the cost 350,000 and reserve of the 35,000 and the total cost of the 13,000 and 85,000 pesos, and the 95,000 pesos. The physical design with the cost of the 200 and the 50,000 and the reserve of the 75,000 pesos and the total cost is the 300 and the 25,000 pesos. The development with cost to 2,400,000 400 to 2,000 and reserve of the 316,000 and the total cost should be 2,716,000 pesos. Integration of the software with other parts at the cost, the 200 and the 3,000 and the reserve of the 25,000 and the total cost should be 2,000 pesos. Foundation testing is a cost 150,000 and reserve of the 25,000, and the cost total should be 175,000 pesos. Software installation and the cost 375,000. The reserve of the 375,000 pesos, and the total cost the be 420,500 pesos. Users association and the cost the 3,000 and 5,000, and reserve of the 35,000. And the total cost should be 385,000 pesos. The reserve of errors with the cost is 300,000, and reserve of the 3,000, and the cost total should be 300 and the entity and 300 pesos. Control account records. The first one had cost the 3,705,000, and second and the cost of the 1,557,500. The baseline will be 5,216,500, and the total budget will be 5,789,750.
Risk management and response planning. Here we have risk management methodology. First, process risk management planning, risk identification, quantitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, risk response planning, risk monitoring, and control. Next, description. For the first, prepare management plan for the risk. Second, identify which risk may affect the project and document their characteristics. Next, assess impact probability. Prioritize risk will not be done. Define response to identify risk, schedule response execution. Next, verify the occurrence of risk. Supervise and verify the execution of responses. Verify the appearance of new risk. Tools. First, Pinbook. Experience of team members in risk management. Risk checklist. Definition of probability and impact matrix. Doesn't apply. Experience of team members in risk management. Risk identification and evaluation metrics, qualitative risk analysis. Final source of information. First, sponsor, project manager, and work team. Next, sponsor, project manager, and work team. Next, sponsor, project manager, and work team. Doesn't apply. Sponsor, project manager, work team, and sponsor, project manager, and work team. Periodicity of risk management. First, process management planning of the risk, qualitative risk analysis, risk response planning, risk monitoring and control, time of execution. First, at the beginning of the project planning phases, at the beginning of the project planning phase, at every project team meeting, next at the beginning of the project planning phase, at each project team meeting, next at the beginning of the project planning phase, at each project team meeting, throughout the project monitoring and control phase, WBS PDT 1.2 planning, 1.2 planning, 1.2 planning, 1.2 planning, 1.4 monitoring and control. Periodicity of performance, once weekly, once and weekly, and weekly. Definitions of likelihoods and impact probability. We have low, medium, high. For low, the chance of it happening is unlikely. Impact low. Its occurrence is important, but its importance to a project, cost, quality, scope is minimal. Next, medium, the chance of it happening is probable. Medium, its occurrence is vital. Its importance compared to the project, cost, quality, scope is to take immediate action. High, the chance of it happens is very likely. High, its occurrence is important of all the required management. Its importance in front of the project, cost, quality, scope is of mitigation plans. Probability and impact matrix. Risk code description of risk, probability, and impact. R01 lack of time availability of the professionals assigned to a project team. Probability medium, impact high. R02 lack of knowledge of difficulty in applying the evaluation methodology. Probability medium, impact high. R03 insufficient access to documentation required for diagnosis. Probability medium, impact medium. R04 lack of availability of the financial area. Probability medium, impact medium. R05 lack of support from the project sponsor. Probability low, impact high. R06 lack of uniformity in the documentation of the diagnosis and partial results by the project team. Probability medium, impact medium. Risk management formats, process and format. Risk management planning, risk management plan, risk identification and qualitative evaluations of risk, qualitative risk analysis, identification and qualitative evaluation of risks, risk response planning, risk response plan, risk monitoring and control, risk monitoring report change request. In this table I will be brief because it's very large. We have risk code, description of risk, root cause, affected PDTs, probability estimate in number, and risk level. We have R01 with risk level high, R02 with risk level high, R03 with risk level high, R04 with risk level high. Next, R05 with risk level medium, and R06 with risk level medium. This table is very similar to the previous one, so we're going to focus on the contingency plan. Risk code R01, contingency plan, analysis and redistribution of assignments and priorities the project team, timely redistribution of workloads. R02, training and constant support of the project manager to other professionals in their relation to the conceptual and technical issues of OPM3. R03, agile management before the corresponding entities for the availability of the required information. R04, management and communication with the corresponding management entities to achieve the required availability. R05, communication of the initiative to the corresponding levels to promote it. R06, request for reassignment of a sponsor or reassignment of priorities. Risk monitoring, current potential risk, review of triggers for initially identified risk. R01, the lack of time availability of all team members due to academic and workloads that prevent the frequency of synchronous meetings has been repeatedly identified. R02, a lack of training for goal management has been identified, which can directly affect the scope. Review and confirmation of probability and impact initially estimate. These no such changes in the planning. Review of plan responses to initially identified risk. R01, it is suggested to use schedules outside of what is stipulated, with less frequency but a little longer to cover the necessary topics. R02, a goal-oriented training plan is proposed within the team so that the process can be evaluated, performance measured, and the impact on the scope evaluated. Verification of execution of planned response. R01, scheduled responses have been excused. R02, the corresponding training process are being carried out. Review of contingency plans initially identifies risk in the event of significant negative change in scope. Internal learning process should be suspended, tasks should be simplified, and support for more complex models should be duplicated. Current risk happened, actual impact assessment versus estimate impact. R01, risk materialized, they generate a great impact that estimate. Review of contingency plans, scheduled meetings with a specific task will be at in advance. Preparation of emergency plans, the fast tracking technique will be executed to advance activities and avoid major delays in the project. In this way, the diagnosis of programs and projects will be carried out simultaneously and not consecutively as planned. Schedule execution of contingency emergency plans as of May 3, 2022. Assessment of needs for corrective action of change request, none. New risk detected, trigger definition, RD01, possible affectation in the schedule due to possible demonstration in public order to prevent transportation to work sites. Qualitative assessments and risk categorization, RD01, medium impact definition of planned responses, RD01, OPT4, remote work definition of contingency plans. Stick to the stipulated schedule until the situation is resolved. Schedule response execution schedule when it's requested.
Our project management plan is comprised of the risk, quality, human resource, communication, and action plan, which will be presented by my partners. At this time, I will explain about the procurement management plan, and the human resources management plan. Our project management plan is comprised of the risk, quality, human resource, communication, and procurement plan. Procurement management plan. The procurement authority is the project manager. The roles and responsibilities. The project manager is Jesus Andrés Pinilla Rodriguez, and the procurement department is Sebastián Bosa, Brian Rincon, and Fabián Rodriguez. The contract type, we will use the fixed price contract. Since by this means we give the contractor total freedom to estimate their prices, as well as giving us the total security that the price will not be variable, and thus be able to carry out a better cost and accounting. The selection criteria of suppliers or contractors, the supplier profile analysis, recognition of their work, prestige, market trajectory, responsiveness, and compliance with quality standards. A reference from previous clients asks for an option from other companies or clients who have had a contract with this provider. After sales, review how suppliers after sales service is. This means the quarantinis of the purchased input. Among them are technical service, advice, and customer services. The procurement assumption and constraints within the restriction of the limits of times, schedule, resource, cost, and scope. This limits the execute of the project to fulfill normal concerts, and within the assumptions are all those things that are supposed to be true, but that can be in reality not be true. Well, this is the human resource management. Some are roles, responsibility, and authority. The first role is the administrative and financial director. His responsibilities are approve or deny scope change request as appropriate, assess the needs for scope change request, and accept project deliverables. Authority define the severity of the change in the scope that occur. The second role are the project manager. His responsibility are measure and verify the scope of the project, validate the scope change request, participate in scoping impact assignments of change request, communicate the results of scope change request to the team, and facilitate the change review process at the team. Authority requests progress reports within the project and decide if it is necessary to re-evaluate methods and or objectives. The next role are the developer role. His responsibilities are participate in the definition of the change resolutions, evaluate the need for scope changes, and communicate them to the project manager as necessary. And the authority are directly influence the project architecture and loads on services. The final role are the project manager. His responsibilities are measure and verify the scope of the project, facilitate the scope change request, facilitate scope impact assignments of change request, organize and facilitate schedule change control meetings, and communicate the results of scope change request. And his authority are manage the resource of the project and do change the progress and the scope.
Now we're going to talk about the communications management plan of Drunken Trouble, our project. The date we prepare this, it's the 12th of the 05 of the present year, 2022. First, we're going to take a look to the communication strategy. Now we're going to talk about what information will be communicated. First of all, we have a planning stage. Then we talk about the initial status of the company, the budget of it, the delivery times, the resources we're gonna be needing, and the possible interest parties, also the requirements, and the project design. Then we pass to the next stage. It is called information on future meetings. And first, we start taking a look into the development. So we analyze some topics like the status of some process, the general project status, the expenses, the cost, and the budget. Also the times, the resource consumption, the time estimation, the request for resources, time or other inputs, and the approval for applications. Then we have the closing stage. We analyze the status of the final project, the system maintenance, and the future plans. This is basically at the end of the project, as it seems. To whom will be communicated? The interested, the development team, the project leader, general manager, project owner, and also the design team. By what means? We find the project charter, the face-to-face meetings, statement of work, work breakdown structure, act of constitution of the project, activity diagram, online dashboards, email, and also virtual meetings. So when the communication will take place? The communication will take place twice a week. Once at the beginning of each week, let's say Monday, for example, and once at the end. It could be Friday. This is to keep a track of the application development process without having to overwhelm meeting participants with all the information. Within the development team, there are meetings where information is shared every day. So we're going to look into our communication action plan. First, we're gonna start with the communication actions. First, we have the face-to-face meeting. We place the code number 1 for this one. Basically, communicate to stakeholders the progress of the project. The responsible is the project leader. The target audience is the stakeholders, the dependencies, and all conditions. It's what's new in the development, what is our progress in respect to the last meeting. The human and material resources, we have the development team, the development documentation, and also a physical location, because this is a face-to-face meeting. What communication channels we'll be using? Verbally, in person, and print documents with basically the progress of the project at that date. Then we have the virtual meetings, our code number 2. Basically, communicate to stakeholders the progress of the project. As responsible, we have the project leader. Our target audience, we have the stakeholders. As dependencies or conditions, basically as the previous one, what's new in the development, or what progress do we have since the last meeting. And human and material resources, we have the development team, the development documentation, electronic device, because this is a virtual meeting, and meeting tool. It could be Zoom, Skype, Teams, or whatever tool we're using at that moment. And the communication channels will be verbally, in virtuality, digital documents, presentations, videos, and basically a virtual meeting rooms. Then we have the daily meetings. This is set with code number 3. We have the description or objectives of this one is to communicate news to the development team. It's what we can call an internal meeting. We have the target audience, the development team, the dependencies or conditions. We have the requirements, the meetings with stakeholders. Then we have human and material resources. So we have the development team, documentation requirements, electronic devices, and the meeting tools. As communication channels, we can find verbally, in person, or virtually, virtual rooms, email, messages. Then we have the communication metrics. This management within a project guarantees that all the information about the project and about its environment is timely present or made known to the stakeholders that may be interested. In this way, this management ensures that the information about the project is generated properly, collected and distributed, stored and made available so that it can be consulted by whoever needs. In this way, we're dispelling a great risk on the project, that is the lack of communication. Situations that generate communication. Within the project, there are events or situations that give rise to the management of communication. It is important to mention that according to the simplicity of complexity that you want to give to each communication, the most appropriate communication methods must be used so that its content is pretended. I recommend taking into account the following table. So, you can find here some situations or events we can see that, well, it can happen during the process of the development of the project. And we're going to take a look into the situation and also the method of communication for this one. For example, sending emails, it should be considered as a formal and written communication. Communication from long distance, it must be expressed verbally and must be considered formal. Meetings, they are made twice, and a verbal and formal communication. Conversations, they are considered a part of the day-to-day and are verbal and informal communications. The presentation, this one is considered something formal and certainly written, something prepared. Project documentation, they should be considered as a formal written statement. We have also the notes. It should be considered as something informal and written. The speeches, they are formal or communication. And last one, instructions, they can be given orally or in writing way. They should always be considered very formal. Now we're going to talk about the communication management plan, but this time the information distribution matrix. Now the medium in which the information will be reported and or distributed within the project is described in the following metrics at the event. The medium, the frequency, time, and recipients of said information are described in the next table. So we have the event, the means of distribution, the frequency of it, the time, the participants, the distribution date, the distribution, the publication, where it's going to be publicated, and the objective of it. So we have the kickoff meeting, basically the first meeting of every project. Its way of distribution, it's the paper electronic. It can be both ways, or also at the same time. We have the frequency once, the time maximum 1 hour, participants, all the project team, and the stakeholders. The distribution time, next business day. Distribution, stakeholders and team, obviously. And the publication in database, and the objective is to authorize the initiation of the project. Then we have the follow-up meetings, distributed by paper and or electronic, via electronic. This can be weekly, maximum 1 hour. Participants are the project team and also stakeholders. The distribution date, it's Monday and Friday of each week, as we were talking about it last time, twice in a week, one at the end and one at the beginning. Then we have distribution to the stakeholders and publication in database, and the objective of it is to review of the progress of the project in terms of the plan and budget in relevant points. Then we have the closing meeting, as it says, is for the closing the project to the end of the project of all the process. We have a paper electronic or PDF presentation. We can go with these 3 ways. We have the frequency once. We have 2 hours maximum, Of course, this is what it could be the better option, but it depends of how big the project is, and well, basically. Then we have the participants, the project team, also the stakeholders, distribution date, next business day. We don't have like a exact date for it because the project keep like suffering some changes, some small changes within the schedule. Distribution, we have the project group, publication on database, and the objective of it is to confirm the completion of the project. Then we have a special meeting brainstorming. This one is on inside. It's a meeting that's made inside a team. It's also distributed by paper and all electronic ways. It's something sporadic. It depends of the moment, basically, of we are needing to make a meeting like this or not. 2 hours maximum. Participants only the project team. Distribution day the next business day. Distribution project group. A publication on database. And the objective of it is basically to review a situation of risk or administration of the same time, or to review a special situation on management of the group or event to be able to propose solutions or improvements. Then we have the compliance matrix. This one also paper electronic. What frequency? Each specified milestone. We don't have a range of time. We have the for participant responsible for milestones, distribution day, next day after the milestone is made. Then we have stakeholders and teams on our team, and we have as publication on database, and the objective of it is basically to inform the project team of the realization of the milestones and the way in which it affects the project and the steps to follow. Then we have the acts, functional acceptance by deliverable. This basically we're not gonna find a means of distribution because it's an act. So the frequency depends of each deliverable. The time, these do not apply. Who's gonna be the participant of this? The sponsor, very important, and the project owner. Distribution date also depends of each deliverable. The distribution to the project leader, also stored in database, and the objective of it is to carry out the approval of a development phase to continue with the next step in the schedule. And finally, we have the presentation of the status of the project. This one is be electronic. It's made basically one time every month. Maximum 2 hours per meeting. The participants are the sponsor, the owner, the stakeholder, and also the project leader. This is gonna be made on last Friday of each month. We need to inform it to the sponsors, owner, and also the stakeholders. Also storage on database, and the objective of it is to communicate the status of the project with a demonstration presenting the drawbacks and the future plans for the project. Then we have the project performance report or the progress report. This report will provide very important key information about the project and the performance it is having. This will be generated periodically from the follow-up meeting and will be distributed to the following people. So periodicity monthly, so one in a month. The stakeholders, we have the general manager and also the sponsor, and who will do it? The project leader is in charge of doing this. This report is displayed the next items. First, the project status. This one describes what the project is currently located, aspects to highlight, favorable conditions for the project. Progress describes what has been completed. A trend that's based on the performance of the project, and diagnosis is present of whatever the project will improve or it will worsen. Variations show some current versus planned comparisons. Disadvantages: unfavorable conditions that begin to be identified can become risk. Earn value: comprehensive, present the measures of the performance or progress in terms of scope, cost, and time. Risks: presents the inconvenience of risk that have been visualized and what actions have been taken to dissipate, transfer, or avoid them. Activities to follow: what will be done in the next period. They must fill the format: project performance report. Data share with them to record course. This is part of the template we took, and that's basically it.
Learn lessons. Project summary. The project spawned 9 main guides, each with its division of software project management. Software project management refers to the branch of project management devoted to the planning, scheduling, resource acquisition, execution, tracking, and delivery of software and web projects. Therefore, the following articles were seen: how they constitute the project, divide and find the project actors such as the general manager, work team, stakeholders, etc. Classify the level of interest of everyone involved in the project. Work on the scope of work, where the life cycle of the project is managed in addition to training the developers. Manage a schedule to control the time versus cost of the project and monitor feasibility. Use diagrams or tools to schedule, organize, and detail project tasks. Determine a budget for the project and join it with the schedule to have a perfect distribution of resources. Check the performance levels of all staff. Find, plan, minimize, eliminate, and monitor all present and future risks in the project. Manage a communication system with all the participants to have great control of the project and know what it needs. Project results. A. The expected products of the project were the guides on project management. The evaluation of this is carried out on the two presentations are made at the end of the two cuts and a specific review of them by the teacher. B. The results achieved were all the guys with most of the expected results on the developed project of Chunky Travel, which is a small introduction to project management. C. The benefits obtained by the developing this project are passing the course satisfactorily. For some members, the completion of their university career and understanding how project management works for future work. Project management. A. Strengths and challenge. The project went according to a plan and its results can be classified as almost successful, since most of the objectives set out in the guides were achieved and they were useful to the general public, teacher, and other classmates. B. The management used in the Chunky Travel project was appropriate given that the topics developed were part of the course work plan in addition to being developed hand in hand with the teacher who is trained in project management. 4. Lessons learned. An important lesson learned from the project is the importance of planning the activities to be carried out. The project was developed in the academic period, which was a complication given that the other works of other subjects and the work of the members blocked the continuously develop of the guides and reports necessary to complete the course satisfactorily. Another lesson in the importance of systemizing work. For this reason, time must be allocated to have all the documents ready or pre-filed, as well as the tools and schedule ready to avoid complications when developing all the documentation.
Hi, I am Fabian and I will explain about the mockups designed for the application, which were developed in Figma, which will provide us with a series of aids to make the application step by step. As the first screen, we have a typical login with the login options throughout Facebook and Google. We also have the option to register. In this form will appear with the request data, and obviously we have to fill the form. The next step in this screen, we have to push the register button, and once registered we proceed to login, fill the form, login, and the main page or dashboard appears. There we find the side menu button and the area of activities recommended places with a filter bar for a respective search. We will start talking about the side menu. We will find the profile, chat, and logout options. In the profile section, we have we find what is the profile image, a short biography of the user that can be edited on the lower part, their sites or activities of interest or already viewed. We can edit the biography. We can edit the information of our profile in this with this button. We have to redirect the edit profile form. We can change the profile image and all the information or only one input, and okay, we can cancel the operation and we redirect to the dashboard or principal page. Returning to our side menu in the chat option, we will be presented with a section with the list of users with whom we have interacted throughout these means. We access on of one of them, and we can view the information, the conversation history with the user, and we can continue interacting with him. We pulse message bar, typing a message, send message, and we have presented the message like this. Return to our dashboard. We have the filters bar. There we can perform a personalized search. Once the search is done, we click on our interested letter or activity, and then search. Click on this activity, and we are redirected to the most detailed information of site, letter, finding, related image, description, review, valuations, and the prices. Additionally, we can make a review about this event, choosing scores and a short detail of it. Selected the score, select the score, a little description, and we publish, and we will find there was previously rating. Okay, we have we can seeing the more details in this page, and return to our task or activity, and we can chat with the user or the owner of the activity in this chat. returning to the option, we have we can log out, push the logout, pop-up of sure if you are sure to log out, in this case yes, and we show us a personalized splash screen. For this screen is our logo, but he is say goodbye. The next one slide is conclusions. The first one is we were able to demonstrate and understand that not only is the information related to the final objective of the project noted down, but also the lessons learned from the entire process and the execution of the project are obtained. Example, what have we failed, has inadequate procedure been carried out, should we invest more resource or extend the term to certain activity. The second one is working with project type tools makes it easier to collect and manage information on our project. The third is the budget proposed at the beginning was much in terms of money and dedicated effort. However, the time that was contributed to the project, given the different responsibilities in the work, educational and personal aspects, was decreasing as time passed, and that generate delays in deliveries. There are no shortcuts to being successful in project management. Project manager must integrate various skills from various disciplines, including being able to define the scope and area of work, define a project plan and schedule tasks, assess and allocate resources and personnel, and manage the workforce. And the last one, conclusion, is before starting to try organize a project, it's important to define well what a project is. A project is a group of tasks carried out during a given period of time to meet a series of specific objectives. Generally, the project is a one-time program with its own life cycle from the start to finish. The bibliography section, during the process of learning and developing the project, we were working under the information of the PM book, which was released by the teacher in charge. And this is all for our presentation for Tranqui Travel, and thank you so much.